it was about four of us, and we were sitting there, and we were all trying to figure out what to do. Everyone talked about that, what they were going to do, and I was like, hey, there's this feature on Instagram where you can go live. So I think I'm just going to go live. And like in 2007, I started like a web series called True Hip Hop Stories, where I would interview like my old school hip hop friends.
Heavy D? I think I saw with Heavy D.
Heavy D, I did like Be Real from Cypress Hill. I just wanted people to tell the story behind the making of, of one song. So how I could just kill a man from Cypress Hill, or Heavy D, I think it was the Overweight Lovers in the House. Like Kwame, he was the first one that I did, was like Kwame, and then Master Ace, and like a bunch of my old school hip hop friends. So what I decided that in 2020 I was gonna do was to kind of revisit that with IG Live. And it was like, they got this live feature. No one was really using it. I will ask some of my friends. So I called Big Daddy Kane up. I called up Black Thought from the Roots, like, hey, I'm gonna do this on Instagram. There's a live feature. All you gotta do is just, when I'm live, just click into it. And, and it was fun. So that's what I said that I was gonna do. It had nothing to do with DJing. It had everything to do with that. Was just gonna be able to tell some stories. When I woke up the next morning, I was sitting on my bed, and I'll be honest with you, I was extremely sad. Like, I was really sad. It really hit me that, all of our gigs were being canceled. So they canceled. I was booked for Essence Fest. I was booked for South by Southwest gigs. I had Miami Music Week gigs. I had all of these. I was opening for Jill Scott, for like Live Nation had booked me for like 4 dates to open for her in June. Everything was being canceled. And I'm like, wait, so we're in March right now and they're already canceling the June dates. I'm like every other artist, like, wow, if they're canceling June and July, man, this thing is going on longer than what they're telling us. And, I started to get nervous. It's like, look, I have my daughter in law school. I pay for her. I pay for, her car, her apartment, my youngest daughter in private school, and take care of my mom and like myself. And I was like, man, this is scary. Like, who knows when we will get back. And the crazy part is, at the end of 2019, going into 2020, one of the roughest things for me was turning 50. It was like, man, what would happen if I didn't work for 2 months? Like, would people still want to rock with me? What's going to happen when I turn 50? Like, like that's a real thing. So when I woke up that morning, before I did my first, D.Nice live like that, I was sitting there and I was afraid. I was like, man, this is scary. Like, what do you do? So remember, I said all I was going to do was just interview people. All I wanted to do was to feel connected. Like, so it was no longer about the interviewing part. There was part of me that I was missing the music. I did 400,000 flight miles last year for DJing. So I was missing the music. So when I was sitting on the edge of my bed, I started to tear up a bit, like thinking about family, thinking about everything. Like, wait, like what would potentially happen if this thing continues on for people? And I got up and I went into my kitchen. It was a kitchen where, center aisle, that separated the kitchen from the living room. So I was on the living room side, and I sat my laptop at the edge of the counter, had a couple of tears, a little stressed out, opened up my laptop, and I sat my phone on my computer, opened up Instagram, and I just started playing music from my computer into the phone.
Your laptop?
Yeah, just from my laptop. There was no DJing the first couple of days. It was just me playing music, and it felt good.
What were you playing off of? You playing off of your iTunes or something?
I was using iTunes.
Yeah, wow.
I was using iTunes. I had the microphone of the phone right next to the speaker. So it was, just me playing music. And I didn't play it long enough. I was playing like maybe 45, maybe a minute, 2 minutes into it. And then I would stop and tell stories about the music. I would stop and tell stories. So initially I was calling it homeschool, because I just wanted to talk about these records and the feeling that I had of these songs, and these old school records in particular. Like the first time I heard, Dennis Edwards, Don't Look Any Further, or the first time I heard it in a club, it an old school DJ named Brucey B back in the day. This is like in like 1986 when I was super young and just, I used to go in the DJ booth and watch him, you know, like when he would play songs like that. So I remember that feeling. So while I was playing that, people were in the chat room, you know, Bun B from,
Oh yeah.
Houston, UGK
Yeah.
rap group, and Black Thought, and, Big Daddy Kane, Al B. Sure. Al B. Sure was the first person that I went live with. I was like, Al,
Wow.
go live with me. So he was the first person.
You got like a
And
Hall of Fame there. You
yeah,
know,
it's crazy.
like
It's just
Pasta News. Pasta News was there.
Prostitutes was in there every single day,
Oh my God.
and we just started talking, and the numbers were like consistently 200 people in there, and I did it for a couple of hours, and then I was done, and then the next day I went a little bit longer, I went, I did that for 9 hours, 9 hours of playing music into the phone.
Wow.
And then people started calling me, and I was doing these interviews, and I was talking to my buddy DJ Clark Kent.
Oh yeah.
This was like maybe day number 3. This was day number 3. I was talking to Clark Kent the night of day number 3, and I was like, man, this actually feels really good. And because at that point, people had started to pretend that they were in a club. They're like, oh, send D.Nice a bottle. Hey, like one of my other buddies is a film producer named Will Packer. He was the one that called me and was like, bro, everyone's talking about your club. And I was like, what club? What are you talking about? He was like, your club on Instagram. Like, everyone's talking about this. I thought he was lying. So then that day, he was like, I'm going to come in there. I'll be in there. He came in. John Legend had also started doing something online. He started his sessions at home. So I hit up John and asked him if he would go live with me. Remember, this was still a new thing. People weren't like just going live like that. I was like, can you go live with me? Just I wanted to inspire this 200 to 300 people that were in there. When John split the screen with me, I didn't know that when you split the screen, that it notifies all of their followers.
Oh no, John Legend's got millions, right?
So my 200 to 300 in that virtual club went to 6,000 immediately, and I'm always paying attention. And I'm like, oh, I'm having a talk with John and his daughter, but I'm looking at these numbers and I'm like, 6,000 people are there. This is crazy. I was like, oh, all right. You know what? I know this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna invite more people in here to split the screen. But I wasn't DJing. I was just playing music. Going back to what I said about Clark. When I told Clark that, I was like, man, this feels really good. Clark Kent said, you should actually DJ now. Like, you're playing music and that's cool, but you should actually DJ. I'm telling you how, when I say things are so divine, I rushed the next morning when I got up. This was that Thursday. This was that Thursday morning. The Thursday, I rushed over to Guitar Center. No, as a matter of fact, that was that Friday. I rushed over to Guitar Center. This was the last day Guitar Center was going to be open. They opened late. They opened at noon, but this was the last day before everything had shut down. I bought a controller. I already had speakers. I bought a controller, rushed back to the house, and then I set it up. Then I started DJing that day. That was the Friday. Like, Drake was in there.
Oh my God.
J-Lo popped in. I'm like, how are these people finding out about this virtual club? So then the numbers were like, I think that day I got up to around almost 10,000 people or something like that. And then, after it was over, I do remember someone like saying like, man, D.Nice had everybody in there. The only people that are missing are the Obamas. And I was like, damn, I got to figure this out. So I obviously DJ for them, and I called a couple of people like, hey, do you think? And it was like, nah, I don't think that's gonna happen. I'm like, all right, cool. Then I reached out to somebody that knew Vice President Biden, and I was like, yeah, do you think? I don't know about that. Then I called my friend that works with like Bernie Sanders. I was like, you think Bernie? Maybe. I'm like, all right, I just held on to the maybe. Like, Bernie is kind of progressive. Like, maybe he'll come in. Listen, man. This was Saturday morning when I was placing those calls. All I wanted to do was to inspire that group of people, like that group of people that were in that IG Live the night before, where everyone started to feel antsy, and it was like, how do you keep them inspired? Like, that's what, and whenever I reached out to someone, that was my whole thing. It was like, I just feel like people need this. Like, there were people that were quarantined alone. I can see the comments where they were like, man, I was so sad. I was so sad, but like, I'm so happy to be here. It feels like so much love in here. And like, Donnie Wahlberg was always in there. And now Roger started coming, and like, Kathy Sledge, and like, everyone was just in this virtual room. And that Friday night, like, The Rock was in there. And I'm like, this is just crazy. And so Saturday, when I started doing it, excuse me, I did my own flyer. My buddy is a graph artist. He did like Eminem's album covers and
Wow.
the G Unit album covers. He felt so good about what I was doing that he took one of the pictures that I posted, because I posted a shot of what I was using, of like the gear I was using. And like, I left everything. I was using things from around my house. This is about innovation and about just using the things that were there. Like, that's what made it special to me, was that I took these books. It was my coffee table books, books with like, I mean, they're still in here now, but, like my favorite photographers, Jim Marshall, to, Henry Cartier-Bresson, to Gordon Parks. Like, those were the books that I was using to elevate my laptop. I had other coffee table books elevating my speakers. My camera was being held in position by a bottle of wine, a bottle of Prisoner wine that David Finney, which is so crazy because then I ended up meeting David Finney, who created Prisoner wine and created Orange Swift. But all of these things I was just using from around the house in my kitchen to get this going. And that day when I signed online and signed on to Instagram, it was immediately 10,000 people within the first 5 minutes. And I was like, whoa, like, this is crazy. And then it started to grow, and people were growing. It was growing, and you could see the excitement. Obviously, you can't see the people, but I was reading these comments like, oh my gosh. Like, I remember Bun B, like, dude, we're about to make it to 20,000 people in here. Like, this is crazy. Like, it was 200 of us on Monday. Now it's like 200,000 people.
Oh
This
my
is insane.
God.
On Tuesday, rather, it was like, yo, this is insane. The numbers kept growing. The numbers kept growing. We reached 30,000, and it just kept, and it wasn't like 30,000 in 10 minutes. It just kept swelling, and the party just kept going. And, and I remember we reached 40,000 people. Then all of a sudden, Michelle Obama pops in.
Oh my God.
Then, Gail King popped in, and this one popped in, and then we reached 50,000 people, and that one popped in, and then all of a sudden I saw Stacey Abrams in there, and I saw like, Kamala Harris in there, and Cory Booker. It became, listen, this is no ego. It became the place where all of the politicians wanted to be seen, because there were real people in there. No one could figure out how to touch people during a quarantine, because this is unprecedented. We've never done this before globally, but then there's this hot party going on someone's phone, and I have access to everyone. Like, they all came in there. Like, everyone that was running, they were all in there.